Okay, it's close to 8 o'clock, so we'll get started. I'll call the Whitley County Redevelopment Commission, April the 29th, 2025, to order. At this time, I'll take roll call. Teresa Basinger.
Here.
Frank Kessler.
Present.
John Myers.
Here.
Michael Schrader.
Here.
Jill Western.
Here.
And I'm here, and Tiffany's here. Okay. Projects update. Project Freedom. I have some paperwork here for you, Odell.
No.
Go ahead.
Well, I had a really good and interesting visit from a developer last week and showed him the property. He was really kind of intrigued with it. He actually...
Dale, why don't you move up there since Andy's not here so people can hear you better?
So this gentleman is actually lives in California, but loves doing business in Indiana. He has done quite a bit of work in the South Bend area with the battery plant and the Amazon facility that has gone up there. So he is very well funded and likes doing industrial property. We really liked the property, liked the location. It was just kind of surprised there weren't more local industrial developers looking or talking to us about it. So we just had our first meeting, but he liked the property. Where we go from there, I don't know, but as we've always talked about, we didn't want to develop like we did Rail Connect, and so we may have somebody. And this person, the one downside to it is he didn't think it was big enough. And I said, well, we've sort of been talking to the other neighbors, but that's something if he wanted to acquire more property, it might be easier for him to do than redevelopment. So that's my update. Is that we've got somebody who really likes it, who may develop it for us.
That's good.
You were working on appraisals?
Appraisals. So I do have one. So the Triangle property, the wooded lot, and the one homeowner there, as we talked about maybe doing an option on that. Got one appraisal back. I thought it was pretty low. And maybe because, we're dealing with people who are used to doing industrial or land appraisals, and now we've got dwellings on there. But I'm still waiting on one other appraisal, and I'm going to have to call that guy back up and light a fire on him. He's the same guy. It's so hard to find an appraiser. The one, Good Valuations out of Auburn, they're always really fast and really efficient. The other one is with Zach & Co., and he's licensed, he does this stuff, but he's slow. So I'll keep working on that.
Has Andy, can you hear me? Andy?
Are you on mute?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep.
I just wondered, did you come up with anything as far as the fire department agreement about doing, some testing and?
I've got a waiver prepared, but he was supposed to send me kind of a list of what they were going to do, and I haven't gotten that yet. And I can reach out to him if you want to give me I didn't know the gentleman's name, if you have his contact info.
I've got his contact info. I can get it to him this morning.
Okay. I'll send the waiver over to him for his review, and then get a list of what he's going to do, and I can bring it to you at the next meeting.
Okay.
I've also got a waiver prepared and a resolution for the barn, but I think I had thought that the one gentleman was going to take it down and make things and give to charity, but I know I heard Commissioner Basinger say that they're still working on what you're going to do with the barn.
Okay.
Correct? You're not sure exactly who's going to take the barn yet?
Well, I thought we voted on
No.
it, didn't we? Thought
No,
we did.
you just, as I recall, you asked for a, what would we call it, letter of interest or something like that, statement of what he would do to get more
Okay.
details.
Yeah,
Well,
that,
is
and I
it-
mentioned it in our commissioner meeting, if there were any other nonprofits that might be able to utilize it in the community. 'Cause I'd hate to see it just taken apart, so.
Okay. The only other thing I had is I brought in spa service as far as when the time comes tearing the house down and the outbuildings. And he kind of give you an update on what it would cost. He said it'd be cheaper for the county if the county would let him haul it away in his dump truck instead of having dumpsters out there. And he kind of broke it all down for you so you could all see. And if you have any questions with that, he said he'd be more than happy to come to one of our meetings to answer them if there is any out there.
The, we use another demolition contractor out of South Whitley, so we'll get another quote from him when we have unsafe building cases, so.
That's good.
I have a feeling that looking at these numbers, they're probably going to be relatively comparable. So I'll get working on that
Okay.
for you too.
Okay. He sent these to me, so I just brought them in for you to see. And I don't know if Andy would want a copy or not, but he can have mine if he's willing, if he needs it
We'll scan it and get it to
soon.
him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to 600 East Yellow River Road connection.
I have continued to tweak some of the profiles and alignments for preliminary road alignment, and I'll continue to work on that here and there. I guess we're gonna need to get to the point at some point, probably this year, if we want to go for rural federal aid through NDOT for this project or not, because we would need to have preliminary plans ready and an application ready for the call this fall, in order to be going to construction relatively at the same time as the interchange project and the overpass project. There's a lot of pros and cons to going federal aid. This project is one that is large enough and has a wide enough scope that it would benefit from federal aid. Federal aid projects are almost always more expensive than full locally funded projects. However, we only pay 20% of the greater expense. So I've heard that sometimes you could say a federally funded project is often 3 times as much as it would be locally funded, but then you only pay 20% of that 3 times. So I'm not sure how the math works out exactly there, but it's usually beneficial. One thing we would want to look at is making sure, that would speed things up and make it easier is if we acquire all the property beforehand, then we don't have to go through the federally funded, the Fed's restrictions on right-of-way acquisition. And we still acquire property, at a pretty, we don't just go out there and make, table deals, so I'm sure we would be fine, but that would it would make it easier. Just
Yeah,
things to think
and
about.
that's something we still need to do, because we've never talked, we talked about putting this in there, but we've not talked to the property owner to, if they would, entertain that. I don't know why they wouldn't.
Yeah, I probably should flesh out some alignments first.
Right.
And then,
I did tell this prospective developer that, that was the plan. He was a little hesitant at first, where the road was gonna go, if it was gonna break it up in half or whatnot, but also understood it, especially when I started talking about the importance of getting local industry back on 30.
And then regardless of what happens with like the forested parcel,
Right.
or the parcel to the east of there, all the alignments that we tie into Yellow River Road, tie into it, so that if we just need to cut the project off there and then just repave Yellow River Road, we can easily call that audible. But all the alignments will be designed to go all the way to 750 East.
And we would need that regardless, right? I mean, whether we have federal aid or that's all local, so, yeah.
If we did do it local, I would argue that we should probably hire a consultant to take it from preliminary to final.
Okay. Anything else on 600? 100 South reconstruction, paving.
I have started reaching out to utility companies. I have made contact with 5 of them, and there's still 3 that I need to make contacts with. But the 5 that I made contact with already, I think are some of the bigger ones or more important ones, including Columbia City for water and sewer, NIPSCO for gas, RMC for power, and Brightspeed for fiber. They have a very big fiber line there. So, I do need a contact information for SURF for their relocation services. I don't know if we have that. For that.
Okay. Dale, you have anything on that?
Nothing further.
Okay. Schrader's?
There's no update there.
Okay. Roger Market?
They still don't have anybody close to taking it, but, and I keep submitting it on state and local RFPs and whatnot. They're still, as this comes to a close, whether one of our next meetings, he just wanted to either come and give an update, or, I don't think there's any need to go out there and take a tour. It's an empty shell.
Okay. Larwill?
So I was talking to somebody who had interest actually in some of the property out there in the TIF. It's what they had in mind for it may not be the most ideal use of the land, but they like that location. But I think this comes back to where we were a couple of years ago when, we had John helping us, talking to some of the jewerettes, or we were looking at maybe an option. Whether this project, and I'll have to talk to you too, because I think the zoning's a little more heavy, on the heavy end, even though it's not like a foundry or anything like that. It would be a first project. I'm not sure it's a lot of AV or incremental tax basis for us, but it could be a start. But either way, I think maybe it behooves us to start looking again at doing an option on some of the jewelerette property out there. That way, if something does come up, we've got a price and we know what we can do. Just thoughts on that.
Now that the hitching post is back open.
Yeah, we better
get out
check
there.
that out.
Yeah. Well, do you want?
Yeah.
I mean, Mike's going to be in the fields, so at least he'll be back from wherever it was he was. But I'll try to give Mike a call and see if he can at least make a little time.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah, Kim and I talked to him, I don't know if you'd wanna.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just let us know and we'll see if we can't get together and go out there and talk.
Okay.
Anything else on Larwill? US 30.
New.
I went to the Pierceton, community office hours. This was before they posted the one that's gonna be here next month, but, I wanted to see if there was gonna be any, if they had any updates between the report we got in November and the new version of the report that's gonna come out soon. They said that they know there are changes, but they have not been given them. This is the community engagement team. They have not been given them, so they couldn't provide them to me. So, I guess we'll just have to wait and see the final report when it comes out in June. But they did offer up that one of the big changes they heard was that there would no longer be a separation between recommended options and carried forward options. They're just gonna carry forward all of them. And so that they'll just all be on the table with equal footing.
That makes it a lot clearer. That's great. Just to kind of touch on that, it doesn't have anything to do with the actual project, but I did meet with a constituent yesterday. They own the property right across Still Dynamics on 30, and it's really disheartening. These people, they've been trying to sell their property for about the last 6 to 8 years, and they've gotten a lot of really great offers, but as soon as they find out that the access to 30 is cut off, they cancel the contract. So these people are essentially stuck there. I mean, they can't do anything with their property. And Love's gas station contacted them, I'm not sure when, gave them a really great offer, wanted to come in, and we got an email from the realtor asking if we knew what was going on with NDOT. They sort of shared what they understood of the project. And I, shared back that, it was my understanding that the state had planned on closing that intersection. And we don't have any power over that, obviously, that's up to the state. So they tried contacting NDOT, and of course, obviously Brad went to the office hours. If that tells you how hard it is to contact NDOT, somebody who works at a county can't even get straight answers, and they have to go to, posted office hours. So the realtor and these people tried to contact NDOT. They didn't have any success. So then Love's reached out. Obviously, they're a lot bigger of a company, an entity. So they did get a response essentially saying, access 30 is going to be cut off. So they pulled the contract. So I don't know. I just feel, as a person and as their commissioner, I just feel really disheartened for them. So I don't know. If anybody has any ideas, it's 10 acres. They've reached out to SDI. They say they don't have any need for it. I know that SDI does own some property over there to store certain things. So if anybody has any ideas, or Andy, I was actually going to ask you, since this project directly hinders their ability to sell it, what does that mean for them? Is there any type of compensation? Since they've done everything they could do.
Well, this isn't actually the only person I know that's being affected by this, and I'm actually looking into that for other client about, it's a public road. They don't own or have legal rights in that access of the roadway, so I don't really know if they have a claim about diminution in value based on the closing, but I happen to be looking into that for another client, so when I get an answer to that, I'll let you know.
Okay, and I know they're not the only ones that are being negatively affected by it. I just feel really bad. It's just an elderly couple that is ready to move out, and they could use some retirement money. So, if anybody has
Have they
ideas.
talked to our own employee?
They did, and he doesn't have any need for it either. So, and he feels like he's in a really odd spot because he doesn't, he does some work for the county. That's not a secret. So he doesn't want to upset them, and then also, I don't know, I guess upset us is kind of how it was explained to me. But yeah, when you get that answer, if you could let us know or let me know, that would be wonderful. Thank you. That was it.
Sure.
So along those same lines, I've since talked to the leadership out there, basically telling them we support them, but redevelopment has no interest in paying for a bridge over 600. That if they had a project on site that maybe we could help them with, redevelopment would be open to discussing that. I will say, they're still really miffed at NDOT for slapping on the bridge over 600, because it really has nothing to do with anything. And so, I'm trying to think of what else. These are my words, not theirs. The interchange at 700 is at risk because of SDI. You know, it's a publicly traded company. They have quarterly earnings that they're trying to hit, and spending another 20 million on 600 overpass that doesn't help them produce any more steel didn't go over very well. And so if NDOT doesn't separate those, I don't know if that puts an interchange at 700 in jeopardy.
I would be worried if NDOT pulls the overpass on 600 altogether and just says, well, we don't have funding, we'll just cut it off, because that'll destroy connections between like Triad and SDI and all of the other businesses that we have been trying to port
Rail Connect.
at Rail Connect.
Yeah, I mean, I just really think we're all gonna be incredibly disappointed with NDOT on this. I mean, the Flaw Road and the Butt Road are federally funded, so those interchanges are gonna happen. And then they'll feel like, well, we did something, we started, and so who knows? So how long are we gonna be in purgatory with property
Well, and
owners?
that's the thing, and especially with all the state budget, it might not come to fruition. I felt so bad. I mean, they think that commissioners have all this power. I'm like, no, we find out everything as you do. So, I don't know. It was just disheartening. So, but I know we're all in that boat. So obviously, it's clear as mud. So.
Okay, Dale, any walkthroughs?
Well, so I've been talking with the HR people at Ultra, working on getting that training grant reimbursement, the paperwork filled out. And so I thought it might make sense at maybe the next meeting or something. If they can get that done where we're kind of, redevelopment takes a tour and hands them a check, it's good photo op. But we are welcome to do a tour there. So you guys kind of pick a time, even if we don't actually have the check processed, we can do a photo there. So after next meeting, like that third Thursday, like we have been doing, you guys tell me and I'll set it up.
Okay.
I'd be fine after the next meeting, or the third meeting, whatever.
Mike, after the next meeting?
I'll be out of town that day. That week.
What's the next meeting?
10th, or no,
What-
13th. I know.
13th.
Yeah, May
13th.
13th is the
Yeah,
next
I'll be
meeting.
out of town too.
Okay,
Well, it could be the following,
yeah.
maybe the following
Following
meeting.
one.
Yeah, works for me.
Although,
It's
Is
the
that-
day after Memorial Day.
is that the day after Memorial Day?
27th.
Yeah.
What about the week in between, the week of the 19th?
They said whatever works for us, they'll make work.
If you get the check done, can you get one of those?
Yeah, we'll get it. Well, yes. Brent and I'll work on that.
Okay,
We'll make something happen.
okay, great.
What day works best for everybody?
I'll be back in town late on the 19th, so the
20th, 21st, 22nd, one of those.
The 20th would work better for me.
Works for me.
Shoot for like 10 o'clock. Is that all right?
20th,
20th at 10.
What day's the 20th?
Tuesday?
Tuesday.
What time, Dale?
10.
10? Okay. Whoa. we'll put that through, and if there's something comes up, just let us know
Okay.
on that. Thank you.
Are Kim's security background issues gonna be an issue, do you think?
Yeah, you do have, only US citizens, and you have to bring an ID. Well, I don't know everybody's background. I don't know what secrets you all are, past lives you're hiding.
Okay. Moving on. Miscellaneous matters.
So I have a miscellaneous matter that I haven't talked to Nathan about, and would like Andy's take on it, and then maybe this isn't even an issue for us, but because it's in the county, Kevin Biggs of Ideal Homes, who's the developer at Lincoln Point, wants to add another 40 to 50 lots.
What?
Kevin's interesting to deal with, but was very interested in a residential TIF, and I think Nathan knew I was going there. Andy, I think, has some experience with that in Busco, maybe. Andy, did you help with the residential TIF out there?
Yes.
Okay, and then I know Nathan's pretty familiar with it. A, I don't even know if that's something we want to do. B, who would run, if we were to do a residential TIF out there, what redevelopment would handle it? Would it be this body? Okay.
So the commission has talked about residential TIFs before for trying to court new development. And as I recall, the consensus was you weren't particularly comfortable with the idea. More hassle, more whatever, and the project wasn't right, I guess. My concern is why can't Biggs continue to develop? It's a project that's honestly almost 30 years old now. It's in its probably last two sections. What infrastructure can the commission offer that we would have to, I mean, you have to justify it like any other but for commitment. How are we going to do that?
Right, and plus, I don't think most people do residential TIFs for such a small, I mean, it'd be one thing if it was
Yeah.
100 lots, but just 45.
That's what I was gonna say is that, I mean, if you did a residential TIF now, new, for 40 lots, that's not gonna generate any material amount of money anytime soon to help with infrastructure costs.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing, keep in mind, like, we're still a legacy TIF. We still generate increment off of the residential anyway without having to jump through the residential TIF hoops. So if we can avoid that, that's probably still best. And just talk normal incentives.
Yeah.
So is this, I mean, is this located in our current TIF?
Mhm.
This-
Yeah.
Yeah, all of Lincoln Point, the entire planned area is within the current Union TIF area.
okay.
I wasn't surprised he asked. He asked for a lot of assistance on every project he does. I mean, the 40 homes, I think, are closer to workforce housing than a lot of other homes people build. But I just think there were other ways. I also suggested some ready funds that I thought I could help him with, so. He asked, I said I'd bring it up. I didn't promise anything, and even, I just, like I said, first knee-jerk reaction was, this doesn't make sense.
Commission, are you wanting to entertain the thought? I mean, again, we are getting increment off of it because of the age of the TIF. So you could potentially look at something.
Yeah, I don't see what the value would be
My,
of layering another TIF on top of what we already have.
Yeah, my initial reaction to residential TIFs is no. The only person that benefits is the developer.
So would you entertain any sort of consideration just utilizing the existing TIF and the increment that we would be getting off those 40-some lots. So no new TIF, just offering up some sort of incentive, for lack of a better term.
I would, I mean, we desperately need housing. I mean, that helps overall. To say it wouldn't, I mean, we need houses. I mean, we have a building sitting vacant with no one there that we've been trying to rent out for 2 years. I mean, did we really need that?
So what does that do with the rest of the TIF, Dale? If we do this and somebody else wants to go down the road and do something else, we in this for the long haul, or?
Well, I mean, there's nothing stopping him from building the homes anyway. I mean, I don't know what land he's talking about or how it's zoned. I don't know if you guys.
I'm not familiar with what area he's talking about. I'm
Yeah.
assuming it's already properly zoned and.
Yeah, it is. He may want to do some duplexes in there. That's a pretty common thing now, so that would have to get rezoned.
Okay.
No, I take that back. I think they're just rezoned the entire remaining section, so he's good to go.
Okay.
Is that area, what, north?
North of
Nathan?
Lincoln Point up to 100 South and west of Rouse Farm.
So it doesn't really interfere with any industrial stuff we may want to do.
Yeah, and I think it's, you know, probably something that we look at, but I'd also wanna know, I mean, this is all city utilities, right?
Yeah.
So I, you know, want the city in here telling us what they're gonna do too, if, you know, if they're looking.
Well, I don't know, does this help us get paid back quicker for our sewer extension?
Depend on if they're, I would say probably not. I don't think it would utilize that sewer line. It would probably come back down into where Lincoln Point already attaches at.
Yeah, unless they redesign it somehow, because it was all designed to run through Lincoln Point, but unless it's more efficient to go west to that lift station that we put in.
Well, there's nothing to stop us from modifying our agreement with the city if this is something you want to entertain, to say, you know, we have our existing agreement and we're going to add this, and both of those are going to contribute to a repayment. If the city be up for that.
And again, we paid, you know, for stuff for the city to build out their infrastructure already. If we're gonna do that again, I mean, I think they need to have some skin in the game.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah.
So just swagging a number at full build out, 50 homes, $300,000 each, that's $50 million worth of increment, since the land value is basically zero, or the base is basically zero. So 1.5% per year, that's over 5 years, that's over $1 million. That's a lot of swagging, but there might be some numbers there.
Okay.
Good.
I have what I need.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Columbia City is going through this, I believe. They're gonna do one north of Walmart, residential tip. I don't know how big it is, but.
I was going to mention that under my stuff,
I'm
so.
sorry.
It's okay. Dale, did you have?
Nope, I'm done.
Okay. So, yeah, Columbia City Redevelopment Commission is looking at a TIF district north of Walmart. Exactly whether it'll include a housing TIF is yet to be determined, because they're not certain. Housing TIFs have to be single family, or maybe 2 families included. But they're also talking about multifamily, single family attached, lots of different mix of commercial. So exactly what they do is going to be up in the air. But for an area that really kind of feels like it should have been TIF'd a long time ago, they're finally getting it moving in order to help that entire project. There are a couple big infrastructure pieces that they're working with. So heads up on that. One thing I neglected to put on the agenda itself is, we talked about it over email. June 10th is our regular meeting date, but the council's meeting on June 10th for budgets. So my suggestion is we move our regular meeting to June 11th, if that's okay. And we'll need to actually take formal action to do that.
But along the same lines, you know, I don't know how the commission or everybody's following Senate Bill 1 and property tax. You know, I don't know what that will mean as far as loss of revenue to this group, or how long they're going to phase that in. They passed something. I don't think they understood what they passed, which isn't a shock.
Surprise,
But,
surprise.
but clearly, if personal property tax is going away, it will have a pretty big effect on our revenue.
Isn't personal business tax going away or small business tax or something?
I think it's being phased out, you know.
Okay, the commission would like to vote on the moving the next meeting to the 11th.
So move, Mr. Chairman, move it to June 11th.
Okay, we got a motion?
Second.
Got first and second. Any further discussion? None? All in favor of moving it, raise your right hand. All those opposed, the same.
I'm gonna abstain since I won't be available either one of those dates.
Okay.
Andy, were there any law changes other than SB1 that you want to talk about?
Oh, not yet. I will, because there's several in nuanced changes in the TIF section, but I'm still waiting for it's finalizing now. So once everything's done, I'll report on all the changes.
Okay, thank you.
Just, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just for your information, the 11th, I won't be available that day either, so just so we got a quorum, and Frank's not gonna be here. Would that work all right with you guys?
What's the 12th?
Yeah.
12th is Thursday.
I'll be gone that whole week.
Oh, that whole week.
We may not need to have a meeting
Sure.
anyway. Good to know.
Okay.
Should we just vote to cancel it and then schedule it if there's something really pertinent? If we have to move it one way or another?
We can always cancel it.
Yeah, I'd leave it at the 11th right now, and then if we needed to reschedule from that day, we can,
Okay.
like what we normally do. Since this one was so far out, it made sense
Okay.
to get it done. And then, let's see, the Busco Housing TIF, Biggs Group is moving forward with their first phase of Busco's redevelopment, residential TIF. We actually have a tech review meeting for it today, so they plan to have lots available on the ground by fall. For example, what they're contributing for residential TIF up there, it's 150 lots, I think, altogether. But the town is putting in a water main and a sewer main and lift station in conjunction with all of this. So it was a lot of off-site infrastructure to get the residential TIF or the residential development going, which kind of dovetails with the nature of why we have TIF. You have a need for something big, you use the TIF to pay for that over time. Again, Lincoln Point doesn't quite fit that mold, but and then finally, I got notice yesterday on email for my son who's in high school that WCCS and Whitco are working together on the Whitco Career Academy and WCCS career stuff. So, Jill?
Yes, that's true. We're trying to coordinate between the three corporations to avoid duplication of services.
So does that just mean the kids will go to whatever school the program's being offered at?
Yes, I think
Okay.
so. There are certain things that are too expensive for everybody to offer, and so this way we can share resources and save money.
That's great.
Yeah.
But along those same lines, we're facing a budget shortfall that we've already been notified that we are going to have a substantial cut. So we already know we're gonna be cutting staff and programs. I don't know how that'll impact the career and technical education programs. Hopefully, we can, they continue to drain funds from public education and direct them to the voucher programs. It's part of the problem, but it's not all of it. But I'm sure everyone's aware that the state has a major shortfall in their budget, so we're obviously impacted by that. And then going forward, the decrease in property taxes or whatever they're gonna decide to do is gonna have a major impact.
Okay. Anything else, Nathan?
I think that covers my list for the moment.
Anybody else have anything on miscellaneous matters? Okay, we'll move on to claims.
Claimsman, that's it.
Okay, looks like we have claims and then also a receivable as well.
First claim is a claim apparently for a
Those are property taxes for the
property tax.
properties that you guys,
Okay,
Niedermeyer should be the big one, because of course we're paying property tax from when it was not, when it was taxable,
Mhm.
and then ditch assessments on a couple other properties we still own.
okay. This one's in lot 502 Rail Connect Business Park. The spring amount is $5. The second one is for the Niedermeyer property. The spring amount due is $2,143.56. The next one is Carson LLP for services rendered through March 31st, $1,416.
So we know for sure, right, that the taxes on Niedermeyer's property wasn't held out at the closing somewhere as part of the, it's not something that's, that the closing or the title company withheld?
We'll double check that, but I believe it was not included in the purchase agreement.
Okay. I just, again, I'm sure Kate would give us our money back if we double paid, but we need cutting a check if it's gonna be paid as part of that.
Next invoice is Rogers Company, rent invoice for the May rent, $12,636. And the last invoice is for services, first quarter services rendered, $10,000
From me.
from the Economic Development, EDC. next one is for the 2025 farm lease for the Niedermeyer property, $8,910.
Is it that much?
So this is revenue coming in?
Yes.
Okay, not a bill, got it.
I would move to approve claims and the rent money from the Niedermeyer property.
Okay, we have a first, is there a second?
Second?
We have first and second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Let it show it all.
Yeah, they told Tamara it's good to process.
Okay. We don't need to sign these? No, that'll make a mess.
I'm just gonna pay it, it's gonna come back in there.
Okay, is that all of them?
That's it.
Okay, next thing on the agenda, we have to approve the minutes from our last redevelopment meeting. Everybody had a chance to read them, look them over?
I've reviewed the minutes and moved that we approve them as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have first and second. Any further discussion? There being none, all them in favor, raise your right hand. All them opposed, the same. Let's show that it passed. Okay. Anybody in the audience got anything?
I only have one remark to the demolition of the house and Project Freedom. I don't know if there's any issues you'd have with the previous hauler you've had. Oftentimes he disposes of those materials illegally, so I don't know if you'd have any liability with that or not. So I make sure that whatever the quote they give you is to a landfill and not their woods or backyard, or that often happens. That's why it's cheaper.
Okay.
I don't know
will
if they
do.
have liability if you,
Did we get multiple quotes on that? Just because that's kind of concerning.
I think
He's
they
gonna
were-
give-
he was
Yeah, I was gonna
He's
get
gonna give
another
Okay.
one at least, if not two.
Jill, you have anything?
Nope, I think we covered it.
Steve? Brad? Andy?
I'm good.
Oh, I guess I do have one more thing. I mentioned it already, that budgets are coming up. So Frank, I think is usually the person who works with us. I'm not anticipating making huge changes from this year's budget for next year, but we do need to review it at least, so.
When's that due?
It's May 15th is the due date, or 14th, so I can get budget books to council.
Okay.
And I'm in and out over the next couple weeks, so Tamala can sit in if need be on those.
I can help, I did help Frank last year. If you want to, we could get together after this and find a time, because that's
Yeah.
coming up quick.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I do have one more thing. SURF broadband was awarded a little over $1.6 million for the Indiana Connectivity Program. And for every address that was funded, they think they're going to be able to make business sense to fund up to 12 homes, so it could be almost 700 homes. So that's really exciting. I asked Sands Strategies when we should be hearing about the BEAD funding. Obviously, the state's behind on that. They were thinking a month or two, so now we can stop saying any day now, because it will not be.
Yeah, and there still may be more awards, so I'm looking at you, Kim, about when it's coming down your road.
Well, I'm not losing any sleep over
All
it.
right.
Highway Department got a right-of-way permit through them last week, I guess, and from SURF to do boring and cuts up around and in Quessy. So Quessy should be served with SURF by the summer, basically. I don't know what other projects they have, but that was one that we saw.
Mike, you have anything?
Nothing.
John?
No, well, I'm gonna be out from the 10th to the 19th, so if anything comes up, but I'll get a hold of Mike
Okay,
Julerat and see if we can get something scheduled after I get back.
sounds good. Teresa?
No, sir.
I have nothing. Nathan?
Nothing more.
Brett?
Nope.
Tiffany? We're adjourned then.